Hello, and welcome to our webinar this evening about good nutrition for the lung cancer community. My name is Lauren Humphreys, and I'm the Associate Director of Constituent Engagement at Longevity Foundation. We're so glad you all could join us tonight, and we'd like to make this program as engaging and interactive as possible. So please hop into the chat and tell us your name and where you're joining us from this evening. Tonight's program is co-hosted by Cancer Wellness Center and Longevity Foundation. This webinar is being recorded, and we will send the link to the recording to everyone who registered. Longevity Foundation is the nation's leading lung cancer nonprofit, and we are driving change and improving outcomes for people with lung cancer through research, advocacy, and education and support. Longevity seeks to empower patients to be active decision makers in their treatment through our extensive educational resources, online peer-to-peer support, and in-person survivorship programs, which are designed to help patients and caregivers live well with lung cancer. We are grateful to our community partners at the Cancer Wellness Center for hosting this event with us tonight. The Cancer Wellness Center has been dedicated to improving the lives of individuals impacted by cancer for over 34 years. The center's programming, including supportive care, education, and wellness programs, are provided by a clinical staff of licensed mental health professionals, as well as professional volunteers who donate their time and expertise. All of the services are available free of charge to patients, survivors, and their loved ones. We're here tonight for a special webinar focusing on good nutrition for the lung cancer community. You'll learn how good nutrition can help you live well through lung cancer treatment and beyond. And then we'll have a live cooking demo with great tips to help you build confidence in the kitchen. You'll also get invaluable information about Cancer Wellness Center and Longevity Foundation support programs and resources. This webinar, like other events, is not intended to provide specific medical advice or guidance. We would encourage you to speak with your medical team about anything you hear during our webinar. Please post questions for our speakers in the Q&A at any time during the webinar and use the chat feature for general comments and feedback. Like we said, we want to keep this engaging and interactive for you. Our Longevity team is monitoring the Q&A and the chat in real time, so we'll strive to answer all of your questions and respond to any comments. At this time, I'd like to ask our speakers to please turn on their cameras so that we can make some introductions. Hi, everyone. We'll start with Lori Bambaco. Lori is a board-certified specialist in oncology nutrition at Cancer Wellness Center in Northbrook, Illinois. Hi, Lori. In addition to providing individual nutrition counseling, Lori co-facilitates Weight Loss for Wellness and offers a variety of educational workshops. Lori's areas of interest include empowering survivors with reputable information, building confidence in the kitchen, and exploring how food is more than just nutrition. Thanks so much for being here, Lori. Next, we have Savina Chacheva. She's been with the Cancer Wellness Center for over 10 years, and in her role as program director, she works with the center's staff, community members, and healthcare professionals to coordinate and manage the education and wellness programs. Hi, Savina. And finally, we have Angela James. Angela is the care navigator at Longevity Foundation, and she's part of our wonderful patient services team. With over a decade of counseling experience, Angela is the first point of contact for those seeking support while offering comprehensive disease information to patients with lung cancer and their families and caregivers. Hi, Angela. All right, thank you all so much for being here this evening, and we're going to go ahead and start with a presentation from Lori. So if anyone has questions for Lori during the presentation, like we said, please post them in the Q&A. And Lori, I'll turn the program over to you so you can pull up your slides.
Thank you so much, Lauren. What a lovely introduction. And good evening, everyone. My name is Lori Bambaco. I'm here in the demo kitchen. You see it behind me at Cancer Wellness Center. And I'm so fortunate to be able to use this demo kitchen because I incorporate as much as possible in my nutrition programming. And it's helpful because it helps us really translate the science and the information into practical ways for you all. So for this evening's program, I'm going to quickly give a presentation, about 15 minutes. I have a PowerPoint to share, and then I'm going to stop the camera. We're going to do a little Q&A, and I'm going to move the camera back into the kitchen and do a couple recipes for you. And that's where the fun starts, right? So what I do want from all of you, I wish you could be here. I really do. That would make this as engaging as possible, right? And you can critique my cooking skills. But since we can't do that this evening, what I need from you is your active participation. So just as Lauren shared, please use that chat. Use it for questions, for comments, all along the way, for clarification of anything that I might present. because I want you to take away some meaningful information tonight, okay? So thank you all for attending. I know some of you in the audience, it's so amazing to see you all here. I think it's also great to collaborate with Longevity, so thank you so much for this opportunity. I know that it's through collaboration that we have a broader reach, so I'm so happy to see some of you at this Zoom from all over the country, which is so exciting. Okay, so I will share my screen and share with you my PowerPoint that I prepared for this evening. Okay, so if you didn't know, every year during the month of March, we celebrate National Nutrition Month. And this year's theme just so happens to be Fuel for the Future. And this year's theme is all about like sustainability as it relates to nutrition. But I thought it was appropriate to incorporate the theme of National Nutrition Month with our presentation because of those words fuel and future. That is what comes to mind as it relates to oncology nutrition. I think of food as being fuel, and I think of future being hope, right? So if we can take the opportunity today to nourish ourselves, then we have the hope for some wellness tomorrow. Okay, so with that in mind, for this evening, I want to review the importance of nutrition in lung cancer care, discuss what I think are the 3 most common nutrition impact symptoms, and of course, provide you with some solutions. Then we're going to switch gears and we're going to talk about some foods and some nutrients that offer cancer protective properties and how to infuse them into our diet regularly. And then as I shared, we're going to have a show and tell and a cooking demo. Okay, so why are we here this evening? Why does nutrition matter so much? Well, first, I want to give you some GLIM information about malnutrition and sarcopenia, if you haven't already heard about this terminology. So, cancer-related malnutrition occurs as a result of the disease process, side effects of treatment, but also because of a significant reduction in oral intake. If you were to guess, maybe you can put it in the chat, if you were to guess, what is the percentage of patients with lung cancer who experience malnutrition? Anyone have a guess? If you were here, I would call on you. So that number is shocking. Up to almost 70% of individuals with lung cancer can experience malnutrition at any point during their cancer care. I think that's alarming. Now, if malnutrition is left untreated, it can progress to what's called cancer cachexia. And cancer cachexia is a syndrome when significant amounts of muscle and fat are lost. So we think of like wasting away as cancer cachexia. And a shocking almost 1/3 of patients with any type of cancer actually die from cancer cachexia, not from the cancer itself. Sarcopenia is a separate syndrome, separate from malnutrition, and it's characterized by progressive and generalized loss of muscle and strength. So if you haven't heard of sarcopenia, I hope to enlighten you this evening and raise your awareness about it. It is an independent prognostic factor. So it levels the playing field. No matter what your stage is and your treatment plan, if you have sarcopenia, you have worse outcomes. That's what the research shows. Now, I have individuals who share with me, well, I have a couple pounds to lose. It's okay if I lose 10 or 20 pounds. Well, not so fast. We want to have a discussion about what is lost. We never want to lose muscle as it relates to cancer. And any body shape, any size could suffer from sarcopenia. So we're learning a lot more about this, and I'm going to highlight some ways to help minimize sarcopenia this evening. It's also highly prevalent in lung cancer. We see an estimated 52% also have sarcopenia. So the consequences of malnutrition. It's associated with reduced quality of life, increased risk for depression, as well as increased symptom severity. Malnutrition can result in impairments with our immune function, a decreased response to chemo, as well as increased toxicity from chemo, and all of that could lead to reduced survival. So this isn't good news, right? But there is good news. And what we know is that a nutrition intervention, when done early and when done often during the course of treatment, it can help reduce the risk for malnutrition or delay the progression of severe extent of malnutrition. So this is why I believe, and I'm not the only one, that dietitians are critical members of the interdisciplinary team. Nutrition counseling from a registered dietitian utilizes medical nutrition therapy, and the data shows that medical nutrition therapy has been helpful to help patients increase calorie and protein intake, improve weight status, enhance energy and strength, and protect quality of life. Now, registered dietitians are the only licensed practitioners able to do this. So no other quote unquote nutritionist has the ability to perform medical nutrition therapy. So if you're curious, I would certainly request a referral to a registered dietitian and potentially one who's certified as a specialist in oncology nutrition, such as myself. And what you will especially find to be helpful is that we can manage other comorbidities. So let's say someone is diagnosed and also has type 2 diabetes. You especially could benefit from the medical nutrition therapy with a registered dietitian. So back to that malnutrition, there are validated screening tools to determine if you are at risk for malnutrition or already are malnourished. And the malnutrition screening tool you see on the slide there is an example of one. And this is readily available. You can literally search the internet and find this validated screening tool. And it is literally just 2 steps. And the third step, you can decide what you're going to do with that information, right? So if you decide you would like to do this, it will help you determine if you're at risk for malnutrition or are already malnourished. And if you are, I would absolutely seek out the help of a dietitian. That dietitian will offer a comprehensive and unique nutrition assessment and care plan. And I would say, absolutely, hands down, no single care plan is the same. I work with so many individuals and every single care plan is different. And that's what a registered dietitian can offer you. No social media content or anything online can offer you that, right? So the role of nutrition and nutrition goals for individuals that I work with is to maintain acceptable weight and body composition, eat adequate amounts of protein, consume nutrient-dense food that provides essential vitamins, minerals, and cancer-fighting compounds, maintain adequate hydration, and minimize nutrition impact symptoms. For different people, you will have different goals at different times, right? Your priority might be to maintain adequate hydration, and other times it may be to saturate your body with these cancer-fighting foods. So that's where a dietitian can help assist you. So let's talk now about those common nutrition impact symptoms and some solutions. The top 3 that I would say in the research, but also in my own experience, the top 3 nutrition impact symptoms are reduced appetite, weight loss, and more importantly, muscle loss, and also fatigue. Now, some individuals I work with have a sore throat if they're receiving radiotherapy, and there is a high prevalence of smell and taste changes for some individuals. So any one of these or a combination of them may increase the risk for malnutrition. We don't want that to happen, right? So let's start first with that poor appetite and weight loss. If this is something you're experiencing, this is the case to consult with a registered dietitian. There is no question about that. In my experience, is the greatest strategy for a reduced appetite and with weight loss is to consume bang for buck. And I like that expression. So bang for buck food and beverages. Every time someone eats or drinks something, make it count for as many calories as it possibly can. So we look for clever ways to add nuts and seeds and the butter versions of them, healthy oils like extra virgin olive oil or avocado. And what you might notice about these, they're all high in these healthy fats. Healthy fats are going to give us nutrition, but they're also calorie dense. They are the highest calorie foods we can possibly eat. I would also inform and try to work towards eating smaller portions, right? We eat with our eyes, and if something looks smaller, it might look more manageable for our appetite. So we might want to just eat more frequently when we eat smaller meals. And this can be done in a number of ways. We can take a regular meal and just divide it in half or in thirds and eat every 2 or 3 hours. And when we do sit down to eat a meal, such as this one on the slide, if we're unable to finish the entire plate, we want to prioritize what's most important that we finish. So for example, maybe we want to eat that salmon because we know it's going to give us valuable protein and a good amount of those healthy fats. We also may wish to consider nutrition shakes and smoothies, and I'm going to talk about this in a moment. But green smoothies made with almond milk are not really bang for buck, right? So we're going to be strategic with the ingredients that we might include for a high calorie, high protein smoothie. And there certainly are convenient, ready to drink products on the market. As I mentioned, I'm going to discuss them in just a moment. Now, in my experience, when individuals are looking to prevent further weight loss or they're looking to gain some weight back, a good strategy is to simply add 250 and maybe up to 500 calories per day on top of what they're already eating. So how do we do that? Well, here's some examples. Boom. And this is just a short list, but I have many other ideas up my sleeve. So they are relatively small portions, and they could be sort of like a mini meal or a really high quality snack for you to decide to eat. And I've included some sources of, there's plant-based sources on there, and certainly some choices that you notice contain a good amount of fats. So those words in bold letters, they're all fat sources, right? So when we incorporate some of those foods, we know, just like in the picture on the slide, we know we're going to get quality calories. And so we want to incorporate them as much as we can. Now, I talked a little bit about weight loss, but let's talk about muscle loss. And this was a really interesting article that was published just a few years ago. It's done with one of the experts in this field of low muscle mass in cancer. And I know it's a busy slide, but I just want to really point out a couple things about this particular narrative that was published. So on the left-hand side, in the picture, you see someone with reduced muscle, and these are all the variables that may contribute to low muscle mass, especially in cancers, things like aging, things like inflammation and inactivity. And on the right-hand side, this is what the researchers are investigating as potential treatments for low muscle mass. Now, the jury is still out on some of these nutritional treatments, but what I want to talk about is what has the most evidence as it stands today in terms of helping reduce the risk for muscle loss. And that's energy needs or calories, which we just talked about, but then also protein. So protein, you're asking, okay, how much protein is enough for me? So what we do when we estimate protein requirements, we use our weight, and we actually like to use kilograms and our calculators. We like to use them a lot. So what we first do is decide what someone's weight is in kilograms. And then we're going to use a range from 1.3 up to even 2.5 grams of kilograms per day for protein requirements. So for example, if someone weighed 150 pounds, they weigh 68 kilograms. And let's just say we take that medium number of 1.5 grams, they're going to require a little over 100 grams of protein per day. Now, as it turns out, not only does it matter how much protein we eat, but when we eat it. So research is determining that we need to eat protein spread throughout the day rather than in one lump sum, which many individuals I work with, they do that. They eat protein really at 1 or 2 meals rather than throughout the day. So research has so far shown that at least 25, maybe up to 30 grams per meal, at least 3 times a day, this may help prevent muscle loss. Protein requirements are conditional. A dietitian can help with this. So they're going to be greatest when someone is obviously losing muscle and losing weight, when someone has just had surgery, or if someone is receiving both chemo and radiation at the same time. We often find that they also are losing muscle. So you might be wondering how much protein is enough. So here is a list of foods that would satisfy those conditions for about 25 to 30 grams of protein. Again, foods that we're familiar with, right? Really straightforward, nutritious choices, both animal and plant sources of protein. And what you might notice on the slide there, I have in bold and with an asterisk, walnuts and fish. Why did I do that? Well, they're good sources of protein, but they also supply a special type of a fat called omega-3 fats. Maybe you've heard of them. And some of the research is pointing to the benefit of omega-3 fats in helping to retain our muscle, especially in the oncology population. Now, a little known fact, more than 95% of us do not eat enough omega-3 fats. We're deficient in it, and that's where a dietitian can be helpful. So next and lastly, for our nutrition impact symptoms, I want to talk about fatigue. Up to 80% of lung cancer patients do experience fatigue, and we're talking about a debilitating condition, right? Not just being tired, but it's distressing and it's exhausting. So I often suggest for caregivers to become involved, or if an individual lives alone, to rely on convenient foods, right? So since I've been in practice, the market has exploded with ready-made meals or with meal delivery or meal kits that are delivered. Take advantage of some of those options, order takeout, really delegate this responsibility of buying groceries and also preparing food to your network, to your family, and to your loved ones. Choose the largest meal of the day when your energy is at its greatest. So when your fatigue is less, your appetite might be best. And there really are no rules for what to eat and when to eat it, right? Your biggest meal might be the first meal of your day, and you could eat whatever your heart desires. Balance rest with activity. So as long as you're cleared medically, we know that movement in any form can improve energy levels, appetite, as well as how important it is for muscle health. So I just want to take a moment to speak about nutrition shakes and supplements. I conveniently blacked out the name of this particular product. It's a convenient way to maximize nutrition intake, and I certainly find it's beneficial for some individuals that I work with. There's such a wide range of products that are available on the market in terms of their nutrient profile. So it can go up to almost 600 calories in a bottle or up to 30 grams in a bottle. So it really is up to you to decide which you would like. I like to recommend creating sort of a routine or a habit around drinking them if you feel that they're important for you. So let's say you use the clock, and at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., you're going to drink a shake. And that makes it really easy to kind of build into your day and make sure you're really satisfying your calorie and protein targets. They're convenient as is, but a lot of times people get tired of drinking them. They're kind of the same flavor. So I like to recommend doctoring them up, right? So you can make a milkshake using ice cream and any flavor ice cream or sherbet, frozen fruit, things like peanut butter, spices like cinnamon, or I've had people add cocoa powder and warm it up and make a mocha with one, or you can really take advantage of a lot of the different flavor extracts that are on the market to really diversify this product and make it taste appealing to you. Okay, so now we're going to switch gears and talk for a moment about targeted nutrients. So these foods you see on the slide, I'm going to dive deeper into what is in them that makes them so special in lung cancer. This research study, this image is from a research study that was a review article published in 2015. So it's a little dated, but really held some promising information about how these nutrients and how these compounds that are in some of our foods exert very specific cancer protective mechanisms. It's almost like they literally target cell signaling pathways in the lung cancer cell lines. So the research is really in vitro, so Petri dishes and test tubes, but they've expanded this into animal studies, and they're seeing some really promising results. Now, what I want to point out to you is that when we think about nutrition and the nutrients that we eat in food, we want to think about how to maximize eating, ways to eat all of them, right? Because it's really difficult to unravel what is it about a specific single compound in a single food. And it's likely that any protective effects in terms of cancer protection, it's likely that we're going to get those effects only when we combine all of these foods, as much as we can, right? Not one single food, one at a time. We want to really consider this as part of our whole diet. So what I'm going to talk about is these foods that happen to have what are called phytochemicals, and there's literally tens of thousands of them naturally found in plant foods. And I like to consider them as cancer's worst food enemies. And I want to talk about what they are. You're going to see the ways that they help in terms of cancer protection, but I also want to point out at least one way for you to deliver this compound into your body through food. Okay, so turmeric, maybe you've heard of it. The ever popular anti-cancer spice, as it's called. It possesses this phytochemical curcumin, and curcumin is what is responsible for giving it that rusty orange color, really beautiful, vibrant color. And it also is an analgesic. So some people use it for pain management, which I think is really interesting. Now, I'm going to show you a way to deliver curcumin or turmeric into your body, right? So you can use it in traditional ways, such as a curry. But I happen to like it with my eggs or in a scrambled tofu. And it's what's going to give it that color, right? That characteristic color. Next is cinnamon, and cinnamon possesses coumaриc acid, and it has been shown over the years to be anti-angiogenic, so preventing the vascular supply to a tumor. And many of you may be aware that cinnamon is known for its blood sugar abilities to control blood sugar, and that's because it may mimic insulin. I find that very interesting. So cinnamon's a great spice to have in your cabinet, right? And it's really easy to shake onto most anything, I think, in both sweet and savory dishes, but maybe it's your yogurt or a yogurt parfait, overnight oats, or your bowl of hot cereal in the morning. Really simple applications. Garlic possesses allele mercaptan, among many other compounds. And this is helpful for stimulating our immune system. It literally tells macrophages, which are cytotoxic. So it tells some of our immune cells to go engulf them. They literally eat cancer cells. How cool is that, right? So garlic is responsible for that. And garlic's really easy to use too, right? It has such versatility in using it in a saute or a soup or a stew, really helpful. I like to roast my garlic, like take the entire bowl, right? And just slice off the top and wham, you have this delicious, delicious version of these cancer fighting compounds in your body. Also green tea possesses EGCG, and it's been shown to inhibit enzymes that are involved with cell replication and DNA synthesis, specifically in lung cancer cell lines. So a couple cups of green tea a day may do the trick if you enjoy that. Next, there's soy. So whole soy foods from tofu, soy milk, edamame, and tempeh. Genistein is the greatest concentration of an isoflavone in those soy foods, and they certainly have very interesting cancer protective effects. I think snacking on some edamame is a really simple way to enjoy this food that's going to give you these compounds, but also give you a great source of protein if you're interested. Apples contain a lot of different compounds as well, but Fisetin is antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, pro-apoptotic, so tells cancer cells to die, and also anti-proliferative. I mean, could you do bang for buck? Yeah, you can get apples and have some peanut butter with them. What a great high quality snack that would be. And then broccoli, among other cruciferous vegetables, contain isothiocyanates, and that has been shown to modulate some of our genes. Really fascinating. So turning on and turning off some of our genes that are involved with the lung cancer process. And roasted broccoli is delicious. I also like to recommend raw versions of cruciferous vegetables like baby arugula, or even just snapping off some raw broccoli before you roast it, because there's an enzyme in those cruciferous vegetables that are important to exert their activity, and we want to eat them raw rather than cooked, okay? Now, I didn't mention this in my agenda, but I wanted to give you the #1 nutrition question that I get asked on a daily basis. I want to see if you are surprised by what this question is. Is it safe to eat sugar? So yes or no, is it safe to eat sugar? Well, I can probably give an hour-long presentation on trying to answer this question because it's complicated. But the myth that sugar feeds cancer, it comes from the fact that every single cell in our body, whether it be a cancer cell or a non-cancer cell, it likes to use glucose for energy. It's the most efficient fuel source for our body. And every single carbohydrate that we eat breaks down into glucose. So no matter if it's sugar or honey or something like apples, we all break that down into glucose. So stemming from this myth, if we stop eating sugar, that would mean that the cancer cells have nothing to eat, right? And then they're going to starve and die, right? That's the thought. Well, not so fast. There's a few reasons why this theory is not adding up, okay? And this is what the experts are debating at this point in time. If we remove all carbohydrates, even the high quality ones like fruit or whole grains, our non-cancer cells who really do like glucose and carbohydrates, they're deprived of fuel. And we could risk weight loss and malnutrition. And remember how prevalent that is in the lung cancer population, and also how detrimental that is. Secondly, cancer cells have actually been shown to the ability to adapt, literally adapt, and they'll adapt their metabolism. So they may use an alternative fuel for energy. So they say, okay, you're going to take away glucose. Well, then I'll just use something else, such as ketones or even proteins. And where do proteins come from? Well, our muscle. So that could cause more muscle loss. And that is not something that we're looking for, again, in the oncology population. And lastly, if we don't eat quality carbohydrates, we miss out on all the cancer fighting potential, right? This is my job, to get these foods into your body. So we would miss out on antioxidants, phytochemicals, and all of those precious vitamins and minerals, plus the pleasure of eating them, right? Some of us really enjoy carbohydrates, and that's for good reason, because they are delicious and we know that they're nutritious and do not need to be avoided. So the answer to this question as it stands today is that yes, it is safe to eat sugar. Now, if you want to limit sugars that are of lower quality, certainly a dietitian can help give you some guidance with that, because there are some limits and there are maybe some budgets to consider as it relates to eating sugar. So these are my favorite resources that I use regularly. I want to point out the last one on the slide from Memorial Sloan Kettering. They have a free accessible database right on their website. So you can look up information about any herb or dietary supplements, such as vitamin D, for example, and it will give you oncology specific information that you may need to know. There's a patient version and then also a professional version. And in summary, I just want to remind everyone that malnutrition and sarcopenia are common in lung cancer, but early nutrition intervention with a registered dietitian can reduce the risk for nutrition compromise. Modifications to the diet can help address those nutrition impact symptoms and optimize intake. And only a dietitian can tailor a nutrition intervention to address your unique nutrition recommendations. So after our Q&A, I'd like to share a couple cancer fighting recipes that are in my toolbox, and that's some scrambled tofu and apple walnut bites. So I'm going to stop my share there and just see if there are any questions from anyone.
Lori, thank you so much for sharing such helpful information, and you had some great tools and resources and advice for people. So thank you for giving such like a thorough overview. We do have a couple of questions in the Q&A. So one from Rosemary. Thanks for joining us, Rosemary. She says that she was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes following her cancer diagnosis, and she's curious about the best way to prevent blood sugar spikes and foods that can help with blood sugar.
What a great question. Yeah, so this is not uncommon. And I think, in my opinion, the best approach is an integrative one. So I would be one member of the interdisciplinary team, and diet can help, but it's not always everything, right? So we want to make sure there's a medical intervention if necessary to control those blood sugars, but also what else in your lifestyle can we integrate, like stress reduction, adequate sleep. And then we would talk specifically about diet planning and how to control carbohydrates so that you're not eating excessive amounts, but then combining them with other healthy macronutrients, such as healthy fats and those quality proteins. And that's going to help actually help control your blood sugar levels. Really good question.
Thanks, Lori. And then we have another question from Carlos. He's curious, and we got some people who submitted this in the registration form as well, about the benefits and risks or potential dangers of taking different vitamins and supplements. I know that's sort of a very general question. Yeah. So what's your advice on that?
Yeah, I think that's another really common question. And a lot of individuals I work with take supplements. And that's what the research shows, like 80% of individuals are taking supplements. So if you want to take them, just discuss them with your medical team so that you can get the right guidance, because it wouldn't be fair for me to answer without knowing more about you, right? And your medical team knows the most about you, your treatment plan, your blood work, your medical history, any other medications, because dietary supplements are metabolized the same way medications are. So what could happen is there could be interference. That's all. And they just want to make sure that the dose is safe. So that a lot of times that's what it comes down to. It's a safe dose, and that the supplement itself doesn't interact with your chemo or other medications and make it ineffective.
Great. Thank you so much, Lori. The one other question that we wanted to ask that came in through the registration form was, why is good nutrition also important for caregivers?
What a great question. I would say most of the time I work with caregivers rather than the patients. And so, I'm a new mom, and, I think it can be a struggle for caregivers sometimes, because you want so desperately to see your loved one thrive. And it can be a challenge as it relates to nutrition. So, that can create some more stress for you as a caregiver. And what is so important is that you put your oxygen mask on first, right? So you have to be a solid person yourself, right? And nutrition is vital for that. We know that's a very important component for you to maintain your own immune function and energy level so that you can be the best caregiver possible. And I want you to always think about that for yourself.
Thanks, Lori. That's really good advice for caregivers who are with us tonight or watching the video. So let's see, it looks like maybe we have one more question coming in. This one is specific with a targeted therapy for lung cancer treatment. For Tagrisso specifically, is that green tea is ill-advised. Have you?
Right, it's not. So again, like, so you know what drugs you're on, right? And just always follow instructions with regard to diet changes, like some oral medications need to be taken with food, without food, doesn't matter. So just know what your instructions are. Also grapefruit juice, you know, and certainly there are some dietary supplements like St. John's wort that aren't indicated or would be contraindicated. So make sure that you understand your specific medication and what instructions to follow in terms of diet.
Great. Thanks, Lori. And we've got one last question from the Q&A, and this attendee is curious if there are nutrients that can help specifically with brain fog, which is a potential side effect.
Ooh, really good question. I think like it's too soon to tell. I would love more research in this area because it's certainly a common complaint that individuals I know have. There is some early information about like an anti-inflammatory diet pattern, which is, you know, interesting. So the best one to follow is sort of the Mediterranean diet that seems to be anti-inflammatory. And we're starting to look at some of the B vitamins as it relates to cognition and some of the healthy fats. So, you know, I can't really give you definitive answers yet, right? But stay tuned. Hopefully we'll learn more a lot sooner.
Sure. Thanks so much, Lori. And it looks like Angela and Sabina have both been dropping some links where people can get more information just about like latest news, updates, different articles, blogs, and resources. So I think with that, we can pause the Q&A for now, and we can move into your demo. Those recipes sound delicious. So we're excited to cook with you.
Sounds great. Okay, so I'm just going to change my camera. And now you see, ta-da, with the magic of TV. Here I am. Is my volume okay?
Yes.
Yeah, everything's okay. All right, so I'm going to start. So I have 2 recipes. When I do a demonstration, I sort of like to assemble. I don't do from scratch. So I'm going to explain as I go along. And this is why I want you to use that chat if you have questions about anything that I'm doing up here. But I'm going to start first with the scrambled tofu. And why tofu? Has anyone, please put in the chat, is anyone enjoying tofu? And if so, how? Or is anyone scared of tofu? Like they're like, what do I do with this? Please share your thoughts. I eat tofu regularly. I probably have it at least every day. Or tempeh. Or edamame, all great forms of whole soy foods that offer those isothiocyanates, really important cancer protective compounds, right? So I have here my saute pan, and this is on medium heat, and this was going while I was presenting, so I got a little head start. And what I put in here are just some sliced red bell pepper, and then also onion, and I'm going to share these recipes with you, so you'll get that these specific instructions for the recipe. And I'm just going to saute that for about 5 minutes with a little bit of olive oil, and you're going to wait till they get softened. And then and this is where I can use the sous chef. This is why I need you all here. So the next step is that we're going to just push them to the side. Right, and then we're going to add our baby greens. So this is where we get to have fun and use whatever ingredients we want. If you want to use a green bell pepper, because that's all you have, that's totally fine, right? Our baby greens, we have at our fingertips a really diverse supply of baby greens in a bag. Now, this particular product, it's called Power to the Greens. I love it. And I don't know about you, but I would rather just easily grab a couple handfuls of this out of this bag than work some greens like kale. But guess what? There's baby kale inside here. So I'm just going to take a couple handfuls out and add it to my saute pan. Besides the kale, there's also some baby spinach. There's some baby red chard. another great green leafy vegetable. And then there's also some baby wazuna. Love that. So these tender greens are delicious and really easy to quickly add to a saute like this. And certainly could be added to, you know, a soup that you're making. It's going to infuse more nutrition right off the bat. Just a few simple handfuls and it like melts away. I'm just going to turn the heat up a little bit. So if you don't have access to those greens or you don't want them, certainly you could just use baby spinach, right? Or sometimes when I'm really in a pinch, I'll use frozen spinach and I'll just add that and let it just cook through. Really versatile recipe we have working here, and you don't have to follow it to a T. You can use whatever ingredients you have on hand. Okay, so we're gonna let that cook down just a little bit. And then here's where we add the tofu. All right, so when I'm in the kitchen, I like to get my hands dirty. So I'm just gonna open up my tofu pack. And this is super firm, high protein tofu. So you can find different types of tofu in the supermarket. This one's gonna add more protein, right? So if we're looking to enhance, again, how much protein we're eating in our diet, we're looking to meet our goals, we can add this high protein tofu. Now, this is kind of compacted because what happens is they squeeze out that extra liquid. So you don't have to really dry this out or weigh this out. So sometimes with tofu, you'll see it sitting in water, right? So we want to take it out, drain that water off, and I wrap it in towels and then just weigh it down to squeeze out that extra moisture. This already, the work is done for us, which is really convenient, right? So I'm just literally going to crumble this with my hands. That's how we scramble tofu. And we're going to push our veggies to the side. We're going to scramble our tofu. If you don't want to use your hands, you could use a fork, right? But I think it's more fun to connect with your food this way, right? So you smell it, you see it, you feel it. And I thought tofu would be not only a great addition to a cancer protected diet, but with the high cost of eggs nowadays, this would be a great substitute. So we're going to scramble that in. And what's even better about this recipe, I'm the only one eating it. That's why I got my hands into it. Okay, so with this recipe, what's tofu? It's really kind of a blank slate, in my opinion, right? So it's an opportunity to be a vehicle for something else that maybe you otherwise wouldn't eat. And what could that something else be? I mentioned it during the presentation if you were paying attention. So our turmeric, if you can see here, this is this beautiful like burnt orange color, and that's the curcumin that's in it. We're going to add that to our tofu. And you might otherwise not have a way to have turmeric in your diet, but you'd like to incorporate it. Well, this is one simple application. So what I'm doing is just sauteing this through. We're just heating this through, and we're going to add a little sauce to it. Really, really simple. We got our veggies cooking through. And so what I have here is some cumin, some chili powder, that turmeric, some garlic powder, and some onion powder, and then a little bit of salt. You can also add pepper. And we're just going to mix that together with some water so that it becomes basically pourable. Okay. Wait, that's me a fork real quick.
Lori, can we ask a question as you're cooking?
Absolutely.
Sure. We've gotten a couple of people in the chat that are curious about the risk, like, is there a problem with having soy products if you have like an estrogen-driven cancer?
Really great question. And absolutely no, there's no risk.
Great, thanks. We did post a link in the chat from Dana Farber with some information that really goes into detail while you're cooking.
Yeah, so I don't have to explain it.
Yes, but thank you for the answer.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So what we recommend actually soy foods for breast cancer survivors now. We find it may actually offer some protection. And it's a good example of why nutrition science can be so confusing and daunting at times, but why working with a dietitian is especially helpful, because we have to stay up to date about all of the evolving information if there's so much research done on a regular basis. And it can be so overwhelming and confusing, but that's our job to help.
Thank you for
translate that.
sharing your expertise with all of us.
Yeah. So, okay, so I poured that little sauce. You saw I just mixed some water into the spices and I poured it in and it's giving us this really pretty color. I put most of it on the tofu and then a little bit of it on our veggies. And now I'm just going to incorporate it through. I'm getting some good steam here. And voila, that's it. We have our scrambled tofu. Now, I wonder if anyone's looking to regain some weight, you know, what else could you do to this to add more calories? You could easily slice some avocado and put that on the side. You could drizzle some more olive oil on top. That's going to add more calories to this dish, right? And in healthy ways, because those are the healthy fats. You could, and I actually think I'm going to do this, you could add some nutritional yeast to the top. And this is going to add even more protein to this, but also some of those B vitamins with a nice little cheesy flavor. And a lot of people are not sure what to do with nutrition yeast either. So this is a great way to just top it and to just reap the benefits of all that added nutrition. And I just kind of just do it. I just don't really follow recipes, but I think that's my style of cooking. And I want you to do what works best for you. And that's why I'll share recipes if you prefer that way of cooking.
That looks great, Lori. We actually just got another question. You just mentioned one good source of B vitamins, but are there others that you would recommend for sources of B vitamins?
Sure. You know, one that comes to mind is folate. So folate is implicated in cancer protection because it helps fix cells, and folate is in our green leafy vegetables. So as much as we can eat of folate from our green leafies, that's going to be a great form of B vitamins. But also too, in some of our whole grains, we're going to find, and whole grain products, we're going to find B vitamins. B12 is only found in animal foods. So when I do work with vegans, I do need to find ways to incorporate some B12. The nutrition yeast has B12, but they may need to supplement their diet with a B12 supplement. I'm going to bring this to the camera just to show everyone. Ta-da!
Oh, that looks delicious.
Really pretty color. And I promise you, it tastes really good. It's tofu that you managed to kind of look like eggs, right? So it's a great way to have a plant-based meal. This is technically a vegan meal. And I'll be right up front. And you saw how easy that was to put together. Really, really simple. Okay, so I hope you get to try that one. Any questions about that recipe?
No, I think you answered them as they came in, so thank you.
Okay, awesome. And then the other recipe that I mentioned were the apple walnut bites. That's a mouthful. So I was thinking of how do we have walnuts with the omega-3 fats, right? Really great for us, anti-inflammatory. And then how do we have apples, which we know has this fisetin, really interesting compound found only in apples and berries, like strawberries. So what can we do with that? And how can we package them in a way that's like a convenient but nutrient dense bite of food? Well, these bites do it, right? So I think this is a great recipe for someone who wants a snack on the go, or for someone maybe who doesn't have a great appetite and really is just looking to maximize as much nutrition as they can into a small bite of food. So one of these bites is about 100 calories. Imagine, right? So if you pop a couple bites for a snack a couple times during the day, that's how you're going to reach your goal of 250 calories or more. Okay, so really simple trick. Now, maybe you've heard of these little energy bites or energy balls. They're really versatile too in terms of the ingredients. So you can decide if you want to mix in different ingredients for your own version of a bite. So I'm only using 4 ingredients. Really special, really easy, right? So I use a NutriBullet here in the kitchen. Certainly if you have a high-powered blender or a processor, that would work just fine too at home. And I'm going to add in first I'm going to add in my nuts. So I have some walnuts here, have some almonds, and you can use different nuts too if you wanted. If you like cashews, pistachios would be delicious in here. And then what I'm going to do is add some dates. Okay, so with your dates, I just bought some pitted dates. They're so deliciously sweet, but the property that they lend to these little bites are that they're sticky. So they help stick all the ingredients together, but they're going to lend a nice, sweet, really sweet flavor to this. Now check your dates before you chop them up and put them in. If they're really hard, you might want to soak them a little bit, or else they're not going to blend nicely. Okay, so mine happened to be nice and plump and squishy, so I didn't have to soak them. And then I'm also adding some dried apples. So these are literally, they're not freeze-dried apples, but they're nice, chewy, dehydrated apples. And that's all that's in this particular product, just apples. Really fun. So I slice them up too, and I'm gonna add them to my blender. Or my NutriBullet, sorry. All right, then we're gonna screw the lid on. And we're just gonna process that through a couple times. Have to stop and give it a shake. We have to do this early in the morning when no one's sleeping. And you could keep going, but you see I have sort of a crumbly consistency, and most of it stuck to the top just because of the nature of the design of the vessel for the NutriBullet. But what you're going to do is you're going to incorporate this mix together. And again, you can use your hand, you can put on some gloves, and you're just going to roll them into bite-sized balls. You can make pretty small ones, you can make larger ones, it's up to you. And I'm going to put them on parchment paper and roll them together, and I'm going to put them in the fridge or even in the freezer. And that's another reason why I love a recipe like this, because they keep, right? So talk about meal prep. You could make a batch of these and freeze them for months at a time. So that way, if you're ever stuck and you're unable to get to a healthy snack, you can just reach into the freezer and grab these. Okay, so I'm making sort of smaller size bites, but they're certainly delicious. And you could add some cinnamon to these as well. Remember the cancer protective properties of cinnamon. You could add a touch of salt to this. I think that always enhances the flavor of anything that we are cooking, right? You could add nutmeg. That would be delicious. Gosh, the combinations are endless. I could imagine so many different things you can create with this. Any thoughts about these little bites?
No, they look and sound delicious, and we love how, like you said, how versatile they are, how you can get creative, and you're really helping us feel more confident, when thinking about building our grocery lists and
Yeah.
doing some meal planning. Like you said, it's on days maybe someone's not feeling well or is stressed. It's nice to have something that you made ahead that tastes good and has everything you need for the energy for the rest of the day.
Yeah, and especially I think like in our food environment, we are exposed to some poor quality choices that are really highly processed, and they're not going to support our well-being. So sometimes it is a little bit of our extra effort, but we can do it in very easy efforts, right? It doesn't take a lot of energy to do this, but it's going to make such a significant difference in terms of nourishing your body.
So we did get two more questions that are popping up about the apples. Could you use fresh apples? Do they need to be dried? And can you buy them dried, or do you dehydrate them yourself?
You could dry them yourself. That would be incredible. Wow, that would be awesome. You wouldn't want to use fresh apples though. They're going to be too moist. So you could buy apples and dehydrate them, and you could leave the peel on, and you can use different varieties of apples that way. Otherwise, I bought store-bought dried apples.
Sure.
Where I am are pretty easy to find. But yeah, using fresh apples wouldn't work. It would just be too moist, right? It would kind of crumble in this.
Makes sense. We also got a question. Someone's curious about if you have recommendations for like tofu brands, or is it important that it's organic or not organic, firm, extra firm?
Yeah, what a great question too. Wow, really good questions from everyone. So I don't have a particular brand in mind that I would recommend. Most of the tofu that I encounter is organic. I think if you want to buy organic, I would encourage that. If you have access to it and you have the finances to do that, why not? Why not do organic across the board, right? However, the experts are saying we don't have to go organic with all of our foods because there isn't anything in them at significant amounts that pose harm to us. So the amounts that we're exposed to in our foods, they think are not significant enough to be problematic for us. Okay, but with that being said, I say why not if you can.
Great. Thanks so much. Yeah, we're excited to see how these turned out.
There you go.
They look yummy.
So what you could do also is add some hemp seeds to these, right? So if you aren't familiar with hemp seeds, they're really mild in flavor and they pack a punch for protein as well. So they're going to add just really a subtle flavor. You're hardly going to taste them, but you're going to get some healthy fats in here and then also some protein. So you could see how you can customize these types of things. You could add some, like I said, pistachios for melatonin. You know, if you're looking to kind of relax, it's a nice calming bite that you're going to take. You could do different spices, cinnamon, cocoa, nutmeg, ginger, really to customize them according to what makes the most sense for you.
Thank you so much, Lori. That was great demo. These recipes are great because they're so customizable, so versatile. Hopefully everyone's feeling very inspired and excited to meal plan and plan their next dinner and their next snack. Anything else that you'd like to share with the group before we move over to Savina?
I thank you all for attending and for asking questions. And hopefully you had a meaningful takeaway from this evening. You could see being in the kitchen, it's not that messy, but very doable and certainly a gift that we can give ourselves as a caregiver or to our loved ones that we're caring for. And it's a great way really to maximize your well-being by nourishing yourself. So I thank you again.
Oh, thanks so much, Lori. And yeah, we're getting lots of people are thanking you and asking where they can get the recipes from tonight.
Yeah, so I will be happy to share them along with the slides after.
Okay, awesome. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
So at this time, Savina, welcome back. We are excited to hear from you some more information about the Cancer Wellness Center's programs and resources that can, support and help people live well after a diagnosis.
Thank you so much, Lauren and the Longevity Foundation for partnering with us for this great program. Thank you, Lori. A lot of great content here and recipes for us to try. I'm excited for those to come out. As Lauren mentioned at the start of our evening, the Cancer Wellness Center offers education, wellness, and support to those diagnosed with cancer, their caregivers, and anyone who's lost a loved one to cancer. Our mission is to improve the physical and emotional well-being of anyone impacted by cancer and do it all free of charge, regardless of insurance, income level, and legal status. Our services are both in person at Northbrook, Illinois, and virtually on Zoom. Many of them are also delivered in Spanish. We have a variety of education programs like the one this evening that are developed to help you navigate the varied challenges that come with living with a cancer diagnosis. We also offer wellness classes, including yoga, exercise, meditation, mindfulness, and nutrition to provide a holistic approach to healthy living. And lastly, our support services, which include counseling and support groups, are designed to help patients and their loved ones, as well as those bereaved, manage the mental and emotional impact of cancer. We serve all ages. In addition to offering these services to adults, we have a variety of programs for children with cancer in the family and young adults as well. If you would like to learn more about the center and connect to our free programs and services, please visit cancerwellness.org, and I'll put the link in the chat shortly. You can also email me directly, and my email I will share in the chat as well. And All of these great services would not be possible without the support of our community. We host 4 major fundraising events, and the next one being our big Stepping Up to Wellness Run Walk on April 30th. Lace up your shoes. If you'd like to support our mission, please join us on April 30th in person or virtually. Thank you so much for your time today.
That was really informative. And yeah, it looks like the link is in the chat. So if people want more information, they can get it there. And Sabina, you mentioned you put your email in as well if anyone wants to get in touch. So now I'd like to welcome back Angela from Longevity so she can share some information about our support and survivorship programs and resources. I'll turn it over to you, Angela.
Thanks, Lauren. And thank you, Lori and Sabina, for those great tips and great information. At this time, I'll go ahead and share Longevity's resources with everyone. By the way, I'm the care navigator, social worker here at Longevity and working in the patient services department. Next slide, Nahel, please. At the Longevity Foundation, we have a vision where we live in a world where no one dies of lung cancer. We do this in our work. Next slide, Sabina. Sorry about that. Next slide. We do this through our work in research, education, patient services, public policy, health equity, STEM initiatives, precision medicine, and community engagement. Next slide. I have a comprehensive website where we offer lung cancer one-on-one information, which this is your comprehensive guide to understanding the basics of lung cancer, learning how lung cancer develops, how it can be found, the different types of lung cancer, and other information to help you better understand lung cancer. Longevity Survivor Resource Center also helps to bridge the practical and emotional gaps in lung cancer survivorship while offering a vast network of support for survivors and their loved ones. We have a Cancer Resource Center, which also offers resources to help caregivers take care of their loved ones as well as themselves. We have the Clinical Trial Finder, where you can go and enter your type of lung cancer in geographic locations to help you find available trials near you. You'll also find information and links to medical centers at which these studies are taking place. We have video and webinar library where you can browse video content covering topics like education, support programs, survivor stories, and so much more. And we also have educational materials readily available in English and Spanish. And you can also order those materials and we'll ship them to you at no cost. Next slide. We have our peer mentoring program where we match patients and caregivers to one-on-one mentors who can help navigate through the many emotions and logistics of life with lung cancer. The QR codes that you see, you can always take a picture with those to your phone. It will take you right to the website. We have clinical trial ambassadors and lung cancer survivors who have participated in a lung cancer clinical trial already, and they volunteer to offer encouragement in their experience of going through a lung cancer trial. We have a lung cancer helpline. As you can see, the number there is 844-360-5864. It's free personalized support for patients and caregivers at any time during the lung cancer journey. We have oncology social workers that we partner with, and they're fluent in both English and Spanish, and they're available with resources to help manage emotional and support challenges, but they can also connect you to financial resources for practical things like gas money to go back and forth to treatment. We have online communities, social media, and lung cancer support community, offering ways for you to connect with other people who've been affected by lung cancer. And we also have, next slide. Oh, sorry, go back one. We have Ina, who is our intelligent nutritional assistant. The QR code will take you straight to Ina. Ina is available for 24/7 on-demand support. She can give you answers, tips, and recipes to help you feel better and maintain your strength and speed your recovery. We have the virtual meetups, support groups for survivors and caregivers. We have different oncogene types, EGFR, KRAS, no mute, small cell. And we can offer one-on-one personalized navigation for resources and to just talk to you if you need to. We have a nurse navigator by the name of Christy, and I'm the care navigator, Angela. We host 2 survivorship conferences each year. We have our Hope Summit coming up in Bethesda, Maryland. It's going to be in person May 5th through 7th. It's an in-person weekend conference designed to inform, connect, and empower anyone who has been affected by lung cancer. We have a QR code there too. It takes you straight to the registration page if you're interested in learning about the Hope Summit and attending the Hope Summit. We also have another survivorship conference known as ILCSC, which is our International Lung Cancer Survivorship Conference. This is a virtual conference where people can learn from renowned treatment specialists around the world. It's for lung cancer patients, caregivers, and advocates. You learn about the research on latest treatments, learn about ways to manage your lung cancer and treatment journey, and find hope in today's scientific process. We also host in-person lunch and learns events where we partner with people, whether it's a hospital, different facilities, much like we're doing today. And it's an informal opportunity to hear from lung cancer experts and learn about support programs and resources in an informal setting. Next slide. And this is our patient services team. We have Anne, she's our Senior VP of Patient Services. Nicole, she's our Senior Support Services Manager. Nikki Martin with Precision Medicine Initiatives, and Kristen with Care Partner Initiatives. And there's Christy, our Survivorship Navigator, me, the Care Navigator, and we have Hunter, he's our Patient Services Engagement Associate. Next slide. And I wanted to end the resources on the many faces of lung cancer. When people have an idea of what lung cancer looks like, you're looking at the faces now. And what I want you to get out of this is to know that Longevity wants you to know that no one has to walk the cancer path alone. We're here with a variety of support programs and resources available. So please don't hesitate to reach out and let us know how we can be of assistance to you. Next slide. Q&A time.
All right, Angela, you were so thorough that we don't have any questions, but thank you so much for that great overview of all of Longevity's support programs and services. So I think with that, we're coming up to a close on our program tonight. I'd like to invite everyone to come back to the screen and just some closing remarks. As the fields of lung cancer research and treatment rapidly advance, more people are now living well with lung cancer than ever before. As you've heard tonight, we at Longevity and Cancer Wellness Center are here to support you and to connect you to the information, resources, programs, and community that you need to help live well after a lung cancer diagnosis. So please contact us at hope@longevity.org or visit longevity.org, and you can get in touch with the Cancer Wellness team via the links in the website, cancerwellness.org. So thank you again to Lori, Savina, and Angela for joining us and for sharing your expertise and information. It's been a pleasure learning from you, and we appreciate everything that you and your staff do for this community. And thank you to everyone who participated in the webinar this evening. We hope to see you again at Hope Summit, or what was your walk, Savina?
Or Stepping Up to Wellness.
Stepping Up to Wellness, or another upcoming virtual or in-person event. That concludes our program for this evening. We will be sending out a follow-up email, which will include the link to the recording, and we hope that everyone takes care of themselves and each other and has a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.